Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so my laundry is going to be done in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to make this very quick. The Los Angeles Lakers need to make some serious adjustments if they're not going to go home in the first round again for the second consecutive season. Um, JJ Redick has got to find stuff that works and use it more instead of just going with the minutes that you've decided you were going to use going into the game. Because that's really what it took, I guess, to learn that lesson getting beaten in game three when we were playing people who couldn't help us, and as they continued to progress throughout the game, they didn't get much better. That's what I saw. I just imagine that was what did the trick for us to learn that, hey, we need to not have such, and I say this at least once every 3 months, not have preconceived notions about what we're going to do going into a basketball game. Yesterday, for example, Jordan Goodwin was helping us so very much. Now, granted, I want to say that Jordan Goodwin and Vanderbilt were working, but Vanderbilt got 5 fouls, so we couldn't really put him back in there. And it really did take away from our offense on paper. We wouldn't, in theory, have been able to score with those guys as much. But the way that they were actually playing when the games, as the game was progressing, you put them on the floor and just good things happen. You were a plus with them on the floor. You just get to a point where it's like, all right, bro, why are we sitting these people down? And then you leaving Austin out there. Yeah, the three ball's falling, but he's turning the ball over left and right. They're scoring on him at absolute will. They're hunting him out. You leave Luka out there. Yeah, he's giving you 17 points and some facilitating, but he's a defensive liability, and you're hemorrhaging points, and you're having trouble scoring against this team to begin with, so you can't afford to do that. Bron's on fire, but the guys around him don't necessarily help him in areas where he's not as great. It's just like, yo, I understand we have a game plan, but can the game plan have some wiggle room? Because if it doesn't, you live and die with the game plan, and then you end up dying when the object of the game is to win. So, like, I'm sick of that same old problem. I don't know how complicated it is for the NBA when you have the business of basketball, as we've talked about many times as well, dictating who gets paid what and who gets not paid what, but who gets played how many minutes. Um, you just don't necessarily know if it's within the coach's control that a lot of these things happen. And uh, like I said, man, if you want the other team to win, just keep doing what you're doing. That's what I would tell to any team that does these things. I'm going in playing, looking to shorten my bench, and I'm playing Rui 40 minutes. Well, Rui's having a stank of a game 15 minutes into those 40 minutes. You want to stay on that path and let Rui kick your butt, or are you going to get Rui off the floor and bring in somebody who's helping you? I mean, it's just like, why can't they think to do this? When they're getting their butts whooped. And I say they because I've seen many coaches in the past do this. JJ ain't the first. But it's like, why is it so impossible for us to get away from something that doesn't work when we're watching it not work and it continues to unfold? Yeah, you want to let something work itself out to a point. But when does it become that point where you say, okay, it's time to abandon this crap? And it's like they pick and choose, or the business of basketball allows for certain circumstances like this, but not others. Like when I realized after the 8 minute mark that Jackson Hayes is not going to be a player tonight, yeah, no problem pulling him off the floor. But when it comes to Rui Hachimura, I guess because of his contract, it's like, yo, it's the playoffs. We want to feature this guy, justify him being on the floor, and he's stinking it up. Meanwhile, you got a guy who came out of the G League and Jordan Goodwin killing it in that game, killing the other team, and you ain't playing him because we've set aside 12 minutes for him, and he's getting no more than that. It's like, yo, you're going to get your butt whooped. That's what's going to kick your butt. Yesterday was a game you played Jordan Goodwin about 30 minutes. The way that he was disruptive out there, the way he was tying the ball up, the way he was mucking it up. And that's what I have to say. I think that mucking this series up further works in our favor, because the cleaner of the 3 games was won by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The dirtiest, muck, ugly rock fight of a game was the one we won. We got to ugly the game up. And the best way I know to ugly the game up is to put Vanderbilt out there and put Jordan Goodwin out there as the main guys coming off the bench playing about 20 minutes, somewhere in that range. And just let them do what they do and live with the results, because the uglier it is, the better it seems that you're able to fare against this particular team. You know, and some of these matchups, like I said, Rui Hachimura, man, I don't know how much the mask was affecting his game, because that needs to be said. He was wearing a mask. I think it does impair his vision a little bit, but you know, was so much wrong down there last night with him in his big minutes. You know, Vincent is like a defensive player that everybody relies upon because he can hit shots, and in theory, he's going to be disruptive on the defensive end, but it doesn't show up in the box score. I have a hard time with that. I did like how he attempted some shots in the second half when we gave him opportunities, but it's like a hypothetical thing. Well, in theory, he's going to play defense. In theory, he's going to be disruptive. But in reality, it just depends on how the night's going. I don't want to live and die with him being Cardi G. Now, if he wants to be Miami Gabe, then we can roll. But it's, at some point in time, even though I have an idea that he's going to get 17 minutes, I gotta say, yo, he either needs more minutes because if he's balling, or less minutes if he's not. I can't be so locked into him getting his minutes in the damn playoffs. Now, in the regular season against the New Orleans Pelicans, that's fine. Playing a game against the Orlando Magic, make sure he gets his minutes. But in the playoffs, when it's literally all about strategy and it's going to go home, I can't afford to give him his minutes if his minutes aren't going to be utilized properly and someone else's are. And so it's just like, these are the type of things that people think they have to live and die with, and they die. Excellence doesn't die. Excellence is going to find a way to be a winner in that situation. And so I tell you, man, I wake up a Laker fan frustrated because we lost 2 games in this series. And I think, as much as I want to give credit to Jaden McDaniels, who I think was probably the main reason why we lost both of those games, when you look back on it, there's a lot of different contributing factors, but him being a big scorer with us having a hard time scoring left them in a position to be significantly more successful in those 2 games that they won. Nas Reed as well. When we shut down their others, somehow we won the game. It was an ugly rock fight. They scored 84 points. We scored 94, whatever the hell it was, and we won. Other than that, there's been no success against this team this season. And I ain't just talking about the playoff. I'm talking about this season. So, like, look, man, I don't know if the Lakers can win this series at this point. They have 2 more games to win. We have 3. And we have only won 1 game in this series so far. So we ain't even figured out how to barely get a good victory in this series. They already have 2 with another game in their home court. Home court is firmly theirs right now. The best we can do is stretch this thing to 6 at this point. This just looks bad. And I think a lot of what has went wrong is because the Lakers didn't have the right mentality coming into the series, and then furthermore, when it was time to make adjustments, they struggled executing those adjustments. And of course, you know, Luka Don getting sick was really also a turning point in this series for us so far. That might be the story, is Luka got sick. Because if he ain't going to be 100% well tomorrow, we could probably expect for his energy to be low tomorrow if he plays at all. So, you know, anybody can get sick, you know what I mean? I don't want to sit here and say his conditioning is the blame here, but I can tell you this, it don't look good. I saw someone in the comment section of something random I was looking at said that he ate at an Indian restaurant last night, or the night before rather, sick the day after. I don't know, man. But if he's eating like he's supposed to be eating to try to get in the shape that he wants to get into, I don't think there's too many opportunities to get sick if you're eating salads and stuff. I will say that. You know, especially when you're not conditioned properly. You know, I mean, come on, man. Luka's going to have to understand that the reason why he was traded is because people said that he don't take care of himself. And fast forward to the same season he's traded, and in the first round, when his team is struggling with a team, he's suddenly not well. I mean, like, yo, at some point in time, you got to understand the universe is trying to tell you something. If you look at the dot, the universe is trying to tell you something, bro. They already took $100 million from you for this situation. You got to spend this offseason and the next 3-4 off seasons reinventing your body, bro. Or this is the story of Luka Don, a great player who just wasn't available for his team because his conditioning was trash, because he didn't want to make the sacrifices. He wasn't mature enough to make the sacrifices to lead a basketball team the way that he was supposed to, and that's why people didn't get the most out of him. That's why his team gave up on him. you can't do nothing about this right now. But if he ain't motivated to do something this offseason and to change his life for the rest of this career, then the story will be that. And he ain't gonna win as much. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. You're in the NBA. This is a league of athletes, bro. And so if you're gonna be cool with being a great player without actually getting your body into athletic shape, then you're only gonna get so much out of your talent. Ask Shaq. It's literally that simple, bro. Who do you want to be, bro? And so I don't know that you can blame him for being sick. But what you can say is, I think the universe is trying to tell you something, brother. I hope you understand that people who take care of themselves the way that they're supposed to are more likely to be available at the highest level they can be when their team needs them the most. And there ain't going to be no excuses. They're going to play better through sickness because of that conditioning. Michael Jordan flu game versus yours. Until you understand that, you're going to continue to have some issues that maybe most athletes aren't going to have, bro. You know, and LeBron comes through with almost 40 points and we still lose the game. And Luka gives us 17 points and we needed him to be the better player of the two in order for us to win. This is what is going to be responsible for. Luka's going to have to be responsible for. He's going to have to be responsible for taking over this franchise that's used to winning championships. And brother, if you can't be available, then it don't matter how great you are. You're going to be sitting on the sidelines, puking your face off, or whatever the case may be, bro. You got to take your conditioning seriously if you want to be that guy. His talent ain't enough. That's really what I got to say about that. So hopefully this is a wake-up call for him, whether it's a relatable to the sickness or not, to read the signs the world is telling you and say, yo, bro, we got to take care of our bodies so we can be available no matter what the score. We got to change our diet and stop these habits that don't help us no matter what the score, so that when we're sick, we're likely to play better during those times. Or that we don't get sick because we're doing things that don't allow for that to even come into our lives. These are things that you got to do, especially when you don't have superb LeBron James genetics. It just is what it is, man. And so that's going to be something that Luka, we're going to see what type of person he wants to be going forward. If he's comfortable, they say, you know, then Dallas was on to something and we picked up a lemon. It's literally that simple. It's up to him, bro. And as far as the rest of this, it's on Rob Pelinka. They gave you an extension, bro, but you made a bad decision leaving us without rim protection. I understand that you didn't want to believe in this Williams kid, but he sure would have helped us right now, bro. For whatever y'all want to say about Williams and what you may have or may not have found, your team would be in a much better position if he were on the team. Period. Because you sure as hell ain't using Dalton Connect, who you were going to trade away, but ultimately retained due to the trade not going through. And that pick, hey, I love having that pick in my possession, but I'm sure we're going to move it for something. We really needed that window of when LeBron James was able to play prime ball to be captured. So whatever happens next season, a year after that, we know we gave away a prime opportunity this year, which might have been our best chance to get a championship over the next several years. So that holds weight when considering what the hell is going on right now. Now, LeBron James scored 38 last night. So if you want to come back around and say, well, we can move the pick for something great next year, LeBron ain't going to be as good next year. So are you going to be good even if you do that? In theory. Playing with somebody who's 40 years old, like you just going to come back and keep your stuff together. No, man. Once you get to this age, it's day by day. Day by damn day. So when you throw your playoffs away, not leaving us with enough, filling your roster full of people that you can't use, you throw away one of the last opportunities you have to be as good as you're going to be, because this superstar is ready to go. And for how much longer? Probably not long at all. So I'm disappointed in the front office, man. Y'all know that. Y'all know I'm disappointed. Because this brings me back to the same old issue that we've been talking about. We're good at getting the big star, but we're crap at getting the guys that ultimately give those big stars enough to win. We have not done a good job about that over the last couple of years. We can always swing for the fences and get LeBron to sign, get Luka over here, get AD, but can you make sure the rest of the team is good enough to help those guys win a championship? And the answer is, if they were, we would have more than one championship. So while I'm not mad at Rob Pelinka getting his extension, we do need to make sure that the people are in place to make sure that our talent level is better going forward, and hope it's still enough time for LeBron James to contend. Otherwise, we're going to be at square one, even with Luka here. Because that second star ain't going to be in place. So I, people ain't sensing the urgency like I needed them to, bro. There's no way in hell you going into this series without adequate center position play. There's no way. There's no way if you're serious about winning this season, you start these playoffs with Alex Lynn and Jackson Hayes. You don't do that. If you truly comprehend the little time we have left to capture LeBron James at his prime, you make sure that you have adequate bigs in place this playoffs. You don't tell me what can happen next season with the contracts and all that. I don't want to hear none of that because this is the year. This is the year that you can be certain he's ready to compete. And with his timeline being as it is, as I already said, you can't be certain he's going to be that way next year. So this is just a disconnect between the understanding of the natural urgency of your situation. Throwing seasons away as if Luka's going to lead you to a championship without LeBron. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know he's going to be able to do that. You needed to be ready right now. BL44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.